Hello, this is Julia Bushkova, and right now I'm going to address an issue of buying an instrument. In our case, it is violin. So first, I would like to tell you that the best way to buy an instrument for yourself, or maybe for your child, or your student, of course, is with the teacher. Now, if it is your student, obviously you are a teacher and you will be advising your person how to do it. However, a lot of times parents want to buy a new instrument. They were told that instrument has to be upgraded, let's say, or you just altogether start playing violin, and what to do. And a lot of people just will go online and look up the something in the price range and just buy it like this. And that is a big mistake, unless, of course, you're really a beginner. If you're a beginner and you want to be really something just to get some sense of, yeah, you can do it. Because you are going to gamble on how well this violin will actually sound. You would not know unless you try it. So what I recommend the most is talk to the teacher and tell them that you want to either upgrade or buy a new instrument, and ask them what to do. A lot of teachers are connected to luthiers or dealerships, and I don't mean in any way that they are connected because they will get some kind of bargain. No, they just know people. They know places. And then when you're going to be calling those places, or maybe your teacher will even do it for you, that you can tell them what exactly you're looking for. First, of course, your budget. It's very important. You're looking at something at this type of price range. And I will get to the price ranges in a second. What kind of sound you want, what some quality of sound in the instrument. So we first start with student instruments, and student instruments go from very low pricing, which is $100 maybe. I'm not even sure if they have violins for $100 these days, honestly. Factory made, not luthier made. And then, of course, they go up and up and up in price for many millions of dollars at this point. It's unfortunate that some prices are that high, but it's just the reality of our life these days. So let's say you're a student and you want to upgrade. You played on a violin, you don't even know what price of that is, but everybody says, you know, you have outgrown that, it doesn't give you much sound or quality of sound, and you want to upgrade. Well, first thing you do, of course, you see what kind of budget you can afford. Can you afford a $2,000 violin or $5,000 violin? The difference between 2 and 5 may be very significant in the sound, in the ease of playing, and also resale value. Maybe not as much as the even higher end violins, of course, but still important. So you want to know exactly what you're going to do with this instrument later. Are you going to always own it? You may want to just give it to somebody maybe at some point, or you're going to turn it into a sale and then buy an upgrade and so forth. So those things would be important to know. It's absolutely of paramount importance that you try the instrument before you buy it. And when you try it, it's not enough to just try it in the dealership or at luthier's place. It's very important to take it to your home, practice on it for several days, and then also, if you're serious, absolutely get in a bigger space. For instance, right now I am in the hall. And if I'm playing violin here, how it will project would be a very important issue. Sometimes violins sound very big by your ear, and they sound like, oh, wonderful, great sound. Then you go in the hall, and that violin, what we call, does not carry. So the sound is right here, and it doesn't go into the audience. Obviously, you don't want to buy that kind of violin. There can be also the other way. By your ear, it sounds like quite small, actually. You don't think it carries. You go in the hall and suddenly everybody's, oh my God, it sounds so wonderful. And it is also very often the case. So it's very important, especially if you're a professional, young professional, or will be a professional, it's very important to try violins in the hall. And of course, who do you want in the hall to listen to you? Somebody, like a teacher, first of all, or if teacher is not available, another true professional musician, not only musician, but violinist, who can gauge the qualities of the instrument and give you a very good feedback. And another factor of such a person being with you is that they can play this violin and they can tell you how it also feels if you're not very experienced yet yourself. Okay, so all these factors are extremely important. I would say never buy a violin without playing it for any number of hours at least. Price range, as I mentioned, $2,000, $5,000 may be a big difference. However, it would be a mistake on my part to tell you, oh, for sure, like this many $1,000 will be definitely better. Sometimes they're amazing finds. You can buy a violin for $5,000 that will sound like most violins for $12,000 or $14,000 and even $15,000, believe it or not. The same thing can go to the higher ranges. Yes, I would suggest if you're serious, if you want to really sound better, improve, you have been improving and some more, I would go with the upper price range of what is possible for you. Okay, the same, by the way, if I talk about the bow, we'll go for the bow, absolutely. And with bow, it's even more important. To get a better bow is almost more important than to get a better violin, because we produce the sound actually with the bow, of course our bow hand really, but then the bow. So the stick, as we call it, the stick is incredibly important. And sometimes people put a lot of money into the instrument. Let's say somebody gets a violin for $25,000, which is a decent violin these days, decent quality. Of course, it's luthier made, obviously. But they can have a bow which I would say maybe is $800 price range. Well, again, there could be exception. Your bow can be just that one absolute fantastic exception, and it can handle very well and get a great sound and also bounce very well. But most of the times, no, you need to upgrade your bow. When you choose a violin or bow or both, you should contact several places which sell them. Either go there in person if you're in a big city, or you can have that mailed to you, yes, mailed, UPS usually, or FedEx, who will do this service. The violin and the bows will come packed in a very specific way. And if you don't like them, you will send them back, so prepare for the expense of sending them back, which is usually maybe up to $100 just to send it back. But it is possible. You choose several items, several violins from different places, and then you play them and you compare them, how they handle, how they sound, and try them all in the hall or a big room. Absolutely. The same happens with the bows. Never just go, oh, I think I like this bow. Get several. The weight of the bow is incredibly important. Don't go for heavier bows. Always ask about the weight. Okay, and the weights are really in grams. Here we're dealing with grams. And I would say if you are a younger player, which is to say that you are not a really able advanced player in, let's say, college, I would go with the lighter bows, around 60 grams, 61 maybe, but don't go into 63 or 64. Yes, it will give you more power right there, but usually they don't bounce very well. They're hard to handle. And if I show you here on my bow, this very important thing is that you hold it, the weight on your pinky. The bow is very heavy and you are not used to it at all because you're not as advanced of a player. It will be a whole mess that you will get yourself into. And I'm not going to go into more technical terms about the bow, like the balance of the bow and so on. So we're leaving it out right now. The main thing that is important, not to only take one bow, compare them, and do have a professional opinion about what it is that you're looking at. Price ranges for violin. For many younger people or their parents, it comes as a shock that a student quality violin these days goes all the way, I would say, into $15,000 and $20,000. Prices are really outrageously expensive, it's true, but that's the way it is. So if you are a young professional or you want to be professional, will be soon, I would say yes, your price range would be between probably, well, start at 15 and go to 30 if you can. If you can't, of course, you will be in the price range you can afford. So it's always possible to get very lucky somewhere, and you suddenly will have a violin that will sound like a $40,000 violin, and meanwhile it's only 18. It is possible. So keep looking, especially if you don't have much budget, but you want the best quality sound. Also remember that the very new violins, very, very new, the ones that were made this year, unless the maker is exceptionally well known and very consistent, they are more or less a gamble, because they may sound better and better, which we hope they will, but sometimes, unfortunately, they don't. They can sound better in the beginning, and then we call it close with the aging, within 5 to 7 to 10 years. So you want to be careful about buying a very new instrument if it is an expensive instrument. So far, I have been speaking about an acquiring violin as a tool, which is the sound being its most important quality. However, this also can be a very good investment. If it is an investment, you are only looking at the higher priced violins. The maker has to be very well known, or older maker, also very well known. And you need to, again, you will not be able to do this, but the luthier with whom you're dealing with, hopefully, or dealership, they may answer these questions for you. How old the violin is, what we consider old, is really nowadays would be still older than 1850. So anything 1850, even 1820, still is considered to be modern violin. Don't be surprised, yes. But then, of course, there's really super modern violin that are made in 1900s and even 2000s by now. So, however, for investment purposes, the name of the maker and the quality of the violin, its craftsmanship, not its sound, craftsmanship, and its condition is the most important. What means condition? Again, here you definitely need to have a very experienced and trustworthy luthier who will look with you, looking for cracks, especially cracks on the front upper side of the violin, upper deck. So especially cracks that may be near the bridge. Very important that there are no such cracks in the violin. Also in the back, if it has cracks there, not little scratches. Again, you might not know the difference, but the luthier will definitely tell you. And sometimes the luthiers who make them, specifically make certain little scratch-like looking lines, because they're imitating a very famous instrument that actually had them. That's very different from the crack. The cracks are only something that the luthier can tell you sometimes. Again, the name of the maker, condition of the instrument, and the craftsmanship of the instrument. These are the issues that will drive the price up. It will appreciate with time, or it may not do so if you buy the instrument of relatively unknown maker, and you buy it, let's say, for $15,000, and you heard that, oh, they will appreciate in 5 years, you can sell it. You might be still selling it for $15,000 back then. And sometimes even less, unfortunately. It all depends on the market at that time. But anyway, investments, violin investments probably would start, as I already said, from about $25,000, $30,000 and up. So if you're thinking about that, that's the budget you need to have in your possession. And of course, going to $100,000, $150,000, $200,000, and so on, if you're lucky. And one more, a very important point regarding acquisition of a new instrument. Make sure you have documents. You have the documents certifying what this instrument is. A lot of times when you look at the instrument, right there in that F hole usually, you look in there and there's the label. There's the name of the maker, the year in which it was made. And of course there are lots of people who would say, oh my goodness, in my grandmother's attic there was a Stradivarius. It says Stradivarius. All right, well, I would say 99.99% those are not Stradivariuses. These are copies of Stradivariuses, Stradivari violins that were made by all kinds of makers. Everybody wants to copy the Strads because they have amazing sound properties. The same thing can be about Guarneri or Guarnerius or Amati and millions of other makers, well-known makers, Testores and so on and so forth. Please don't be fooled that these are real things. No, you have to have a document from a very knowledgeable luthier, and there are several of them only in the United States, that can certify that this instrument really is this. Or if it's a newer instrument, make sure that you have a certified copy of the luthier who made it, that it is his instrument, okay? It will really help you in the future if you want to resell the violin. So I hope that has been useful. If you have any more questions or comments, please put them underneath the video, like, subscribe, and I will see you all later.